Welcome back to Data Center News Asia, and I guess it's Happy Sunday. That's just how much we love data centers.
Yeah, exactly. Data center news coming before family time.
How was your trip to Hong Kong, James?
It was good. It was good. If anyone saw the post, I put up on LinkedIn. Really engaged crowd there. The meetings in advance of that were really good as well. Really positive. Like there's a lot of I suppose financing and advisory work being done there, as well as there's a fair amount of activity actually in the market itself. So yeah, overall, really good trip.
Excellent. And I see that we've got Mickey on the show for his first appearance.
Where is he? I can't see him on my
I'm,
camera,
I,
but yeah, he is here.
yeah, I'm seeing the black and white shape there that keeps moving. I'm assuming that's not a living hoodie or something.
No, that is indeed correct.
All right. We've got a few stories this week. We've got a couple of big ones in Southeast Asia, and we do have a good news funding story. So we'll kick off with that one. Green Square DC, which was founded and run by Walt Colston, friend of the show. He was on our Data Center World special, if you remember, the year before last with Kieran from Siemens talking about sustainability. And yeah, so they've been acquired, is the language. Interesting choice here by Partners Group for $1.2 billion. And I'm reading this in the AFR, so I assume that's Aussie
Aussie
dollars.
dollars, yeah.
Okay, so it's a Sunday morning, so I'm not going to do the conversion to regular dollars there for everyone, but you can get us about 900.
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I did drop Walter's congratulations text last week, but I didn't probe him as to whether he'd sold out all the equity. But that's the language they've used there in the AFR says this has been acquired by Partners Group.
Yeah, it also mentioned before that Walt was the sole owner previously, so I'm sure it's some sort of agreement where he still has a decent enough stake, keep him motivated and excited. But yeah, exciting story this one. So as you mentioned, we'd Walt on Data Center News, like an interview 18, yeah, it would have been 18 months ago. Data Center World 2023, it would have been. Yeah,
Yep.
2023. And he was talking about Green Square, what they were planning on doing. I think at that time the focus was still the Perth project. Um, but I caught up with him, I think it was PTC 24, so just over a year ago, and he showed me this project, and it looked like a very exciting project. I think there was a couple of issues at the time which needed to get sorted out, etc. But I think the crux of this 1.2 billion Aussie dollars is this brownfield conversion site in Sydney.
Yeah, so it looks like if you were to map their portfolio out, there's this project in Sydney which seems to be described as underway or at least in development, and they also have sites secured, which I guess could mean exclusivity or could mean completely owned, across Perth and Melbourne. So that's kind of the portfolio there. We know the Green Square model is hyperscale. I mean, it was branded as green energy, so low power cost sustainability, large scale deployments. I don't know the details of this site, so yeah, tell us about this one in Sydney. What you know?
So I'm pinching some of this from the press release, but I'm also remembering back to what we showed me. So if I'm not mistaken, there's I want to say 15 to 20 megawatt powered shell there already, or may even be elements of this as a live data center. Can't actually remember the exact details. But basically, there's a big land parcel adjacent to it, which will allow the site to scale significantly and will be a kind of a greenfield. So I think probably the sell at the moment would be for any clients who want it. It's like you can move in now into the existing building slash power shell slash DC, and then we can future proof the site with an additional whatever 70, 80 megawatts right adjacent to it on the same plot. So I think, yeah, as per the press release, scalable to 96 megawatts. And I think this was kind of around the figure that Walt had previously told me as well when he originally showed it to me, which, like I said, was a while ago now. But yeah, sounds exciting.
Yeah, first investment for Partners Group in data centers in Asia. Certainly, when I met with them, I'm pretty sure they have some digital infrastructure
Edge
interests
core on that
in.
north in
Okay,
Europe and
there
the
you go.
States.
And yeah, I think that. as many larger infrastructure investors, they'd been waiting for the time where the kind of curve of hype versus risk and high valuations in the sector met the right point for them, and it seems that this investment into Australia is the right time. So, congratulations to all involved: RBC and Berkeley Advisory, Clifford Chance and Alvarez Marcel on the advising on the deal as well. So that's a big one. Let's jet across to Southeast Asia because we have quite a few big stories here. Just before we were talking about this one, TikTok investing in Thailand. And we did actually, as you mentioned, his report on TikTok's Thailand investments a couple of months ago. I think it was right at the start of this year. It was $3.8 billion. Sorry, last year, and they've now upped that number to $8.8 billion that TikTok and ByteDance is planning to spend on data center capacity in Thailand.
Yeah, interesting. So this figure revised up by an additional, what, 5 billion? Yeah, so they mentioned that they're going to be spending this over 5 years. I think probably the bulk will certainly be in taking colo space across Thailand. I'm assuming in a kind of a similar manner to what they've done in Johor. Back of napkin calculations here. If we're talking about, I don't know, assuming this will equate to several hundred megawatts of capacity there. They had several already, and I think this was tied to the 3.8 number. It's several hundred megawatts of tenders out. So yeah, I think basically they've over doubled the size of the investment. So I think that's probably good news for anyone who's trying to set up a campus in Thailand at the moment, because it looks like they'll have a very hungry buyer.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this is deployed. We know that outside of China, ByteDance and TikTok don't self-build the capacity. They go through various partners. They seem to have a preference for large orders where they can. And certainly for that kind of megawattage, it would probably have to be some pretty big orders. They do also go through other cloud providers, OTTs, where we're required to. So yeah, we'll be interesting to see how this distribution unfolds and whether it includes other infrastructure spend. I don't know whether they'll be investing in power or connectivity in the country as well. But yeah, large amount of capacity there in Thailand and sort of distributing that AI workload across Southeast Asia for their international operations. Sticking with Bangkok, there was work started this week. There's the groundbreaking photo. Nice little picture of the Thailand team for STT here. ST Telemedia have broken ground on Bangkok 2.
Yep. So you can actually see Bangkok One in the background. So this is second data center on the same campus. I believe Bangkok One is now fully leased, or certainly very close to being fully leased. Hence, it's probably the groundbreaking on this and why they decided to start development now. Kind of similar to the first building. I think the first building supports 22 megawatts. This one is going to be slightly larger in terms of what it can support, so up to 24. That might just be down to client requirements, etc. But expecting that this will come online Q4 2026, so kind of 18, 21 months from now. Yeah, and this will be, I suppose, the third asset. So they've got Bangkok 1, Bangkok 2, and then Bangkok 3, which is the kind of the edge downtown side as well. And then also, I think other stuff in the pipeline in Thailand too.
Yeah, well, 24 megawatts at a time. It's going to take a few of these to swallow up all of that ByteDance demand and the Microsoft and Amazon and Google demand we've already talked about. So Thailand remains one to watch. There was also update from the project that we talked about last year, which is the Cinemas and LG project in Jakarta. So this is SMX01, and it's 18 megawatts initially, and this is it's groundbreaking. Sorry, I was looking at the photo, and the word groundbreaking is in 10-foot writing across the sign.
Yeah, as you mentioned, JB, LG CNS, so that's the data center division of LG from Korea, of course. And this is with Cinemas, or more specifically with PTSM Plus Digital Investments. Yeah, facility similar-ish timeline to the SGT one we just mentioned, 18, 21 months or so, end of 2026. First stage, yeah, 80 megawatts.
Excellent. So this is this is slated to be ready at the end of the year. I've just been hit by the paywall on the Jakarta Post, so I don't have any more details on on that story. Whereabouts is that located? I haven't checked that one out on DC Byte. Is it on the west corridor where a lot of the new big hyperscale ones are, or downtown?
I also didn't check in advance of this. If I remember correctly, it's kind of central west, but don't quote me. I have actually seen the site. I saw it a couple of months ago. I think it's central west, but like I said, don't quote me on that because I didn't actually check right before this.
Yeah, the clusters in Jakarta do seem to be spreading out from their center point further and further west as they get bigger. Vietnam. This was a interesting one. I mean, we've kind of not scoffed, but we've reported on big plans in Vietnam over the last couple of months, and there hasn't yet been the evidence of really big projects to back it up. There's been lots of stated intentions and a few smaller projects, but this one came up here. Saigon Asset Management has announced plans for the Saigon Asset Management Digital Hub, which will be outside of Hanoi as opposed to Ho Chi Minh. So this is the capital of the administrative capital of the country and the city in the north. And this is 150 megawatts of capacity over 124 acres, so a pretty sizable campus.
Sorry, distraction there.
Hi, Tig.
Yeah, so a lot of there are workloads in both Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh. A lot of the stuff in Hanoi is more the government stuff, so AWS's local zone, etc. is there. But yeah, this is like to your point. There's been quite a few major announcements coming out of Vietnam recently, and we haven't really seen a huge amount of progress on any of them. So it'll be interesting to see how this one progresses ultimately.
Yeah, we talked. Saigon Asset Management. Last time I mentioned these guys was they were launching a $300 million data center fund. So it was interesting to see where that was going to be spent. They are also an investor in a Malaysian data center firm called PMX as well. So yeah, I must see we're building up some steam here. This, I suppose, the substance here was the MOU signing ceremony, which is usually the precursor to some more substantial announcements. But yeah, let's say fingers crossed for some groundbreakings in Vietnam. I realize that we are data center news and not chip center news, but with all of the panic, and I'm sure all of your clients are talking about this as well, around the AI diffusion and the status of most of the Southeast Asian countries and their ability to import NVIDIA chips for new AI-ready data centers. There was a couple of news stories this week from Southeast Asia about major domestic chip building capacity being built up. Vietnam looking at building a $500 million national chip fab, as well as ARM, the guys who make the Apple phone chips from TSMC Components, setting up a base in Malaysia. So yeah, interesting news here. Are you hearing much on the chip supply stuff from your customers?
Yeah, we're getting fairly regular questions come in about it. Like we're not pretending to be chip experts. We do obviously talk to a lot of people about this, and we have a couple of partners and various stakeholder and actually a couple of client groups who kind of specialize in this area. So like we can give our kind of high level view on things, but like I said, we're happy to also refer people to the chip experts and those firms who are like tracking exactly where these chips are going and into which facilities, etc. Yeah, but it does seem that there seems to be some, I suppose, risk mitigation. I'm not sure if that's the correct term to use, but people who are trying to figure out a way around the Diffusion Act and what it's going to mean. And yeah, like I said, some countries, companies, etc., are kind of putting in place contingencies, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I should point out that if we look at these facilities coming up, part of the reason why the chip distribution has remained so focused on Taiwan and the United States is it does take an incredibly long time to build these fabs to the standard required. So even the ones in China are still a few nanometers behind those. So these will probably be more entry-level chips and certainly not churning out H100s. But interesting development. One last one to close out on. I noticed that NTT are partnering with the Holy See, the Vatican, in Japan for their digital archives.
Well,
Interesting use
this is,
case here.
yeah, this is. I'm not sure what I can add to that. Like, yeah, good
You
luck
haven't
to
got a
all
papal
parties
opinion.
involved.
Well, you did
I
very well
get
to
it.
maintain concentration there for the last 2 minutes, Jeff.
Yeah, well, Anyway, let's end on that note. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, speak soon.
Happy Monday now it'll be. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.